Well, hello, good evening and welcome to the program. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you most kindly for joining us. Tonight, tensions are rising between Nigeria's two major religious bodies after the Trump administration's designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern over alleged persecution of Christians in the country. While the Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs says the claim is exaggerated and that insecurity affects everyone, the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria insists there is credible evidence of targeted attacks on Christians. The conflicting positions are deepening public divisions and raising concerns about national unity at a time the country faces growing security and economic challenges. Tonight, we speak with two key religious figures and voices, especially in the northern part of Nigeria: the Christian Association of Nigeria Chairman, Kaduna State Chapter, Reverend John Hayab, as well as Imam Dr. Nuru Khalid, popularly known as Digital Imam, to help us unpack the implications of this developing issue that has become a national debate and what it means for Nigeria's peace and national cohesion. But first things first, let's bring you up to speed with the latest developments in the polity.
The Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, NSCIA, has dismissed claims of a Christian genocide in Nigeria, calling them false and politically driven. At a press briefing in Abuja, NSCIA Secretary General Professor Ishaq Oloide accused Western media and politicians of pushing the narrative to destabilize the country. However, the president of the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, Bishop Wale Oke, insisted that Christians are being targeted, saying the church's patience is being stretched. The debate follows Nigeria's recent designation by the U.S. as a country of particular concern. The Oyo State High Court in Ibadan has again adjourned the hearing on a suit challenging the People's Democratic Party planned national convention. Justice Ladiro Akintola postponed the case to Wednesday, November 12th, under tight security, as journalists were barred from covering proceedings. The case filed by Folahan Malomo Adelabi seeks to hold the convention despite a prior ruling allowing it to proceed. Honorable Abdulmumin Jibrin Kofa, representing Kiru Bebeji Federal Constituency, has formally defected to the All Progressives Congress (APC). His defection comes 2 months after his expulsion from the New Nigeria People's Party (NNPP) for alleged anti-party activities and unpaid dues. Jibrin's long-standing ties with President Bola Tinubu had fueled speculation of his return to the ruling party. About 100 fighters have reportedly died in a renewed clash between Boko Haram and ISWAP in Borno State. Security analyst Zagazola Makama reported that Boko Haram overran several ISWAP camps in Abadam and Kukao local government areas after days of fierce battle from November 5 to 8. The clashes occurred around strategic riverine locations, including Tumbungini, Dogunchuku, and Mangari, signaling another violent phase in the rivalry between the two extremist groups.
Well, that's it. You're up to date with the latest developments in the polity. Let's, before we get the conversation started, have a listen to this week's State of the Nation with Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed.
Too many things have happened in the recent period that suggests to me, and I'm sure to other Nigerians as well, that it really is time for us to talk. And I mean real talk. The last few days have shown just how delicate and fragile our unity as a people are. The fact that we exist as a country of Muslims and Christians and people who are not either. We have many ethnic groups. We have regional issues. We have local issues. On its own is not a problem. But events that have occurred since President Trump's threats and the debates and the arguments that have followed them indicate clearly there are fault lines that we have to revisit. It is not comforting as a country to keep sweeping problems that we have under the table, under the carpet. And when you put this development along with concerns about our political process, the existence of insecurity and the absence of what appears to be the sense of emergency adopted by the leadership to address what is secure, what is security and what needs to be done to improve our security. And finally, the clamor that is coming up, the opportunistic tendencies, the need to restructure the country, to revisit our federal system, to do those things that will improve the unity of this country. When you put all these things together at the same time, and you remember that in the next 1 year, this country will be preparing to elect a new leadership, I think that it is time to have the courage enough to say, we Nigerians need to talk. We need to talk about ourselves, we need to talk about our country, we need to talk about our future, and we need to put those difficult questions on the table and talk about them. Clearly, starting with the recent quarrels and arguments we had and we still have about whether it is the appropriate thing for the U.S. to threaten Nigerians with U.S. sanctions and even threats of military activity, and the very discomforting divisions that have arisen as a result of that suggest to us that religion represents a potent and a very delicate, sensitive fault line that we have to look at very carefully again. We cannot change the fact that we're Muslims and Christians. We cannot change the fact that each faith guards its territory very, very carefully. And we can't fault the argument that there are forces and interests that are interested in deepening this divide because it benefits them. What this does is that it makes all of us victims, Christians and Muslims and people who are not Christians and Muslims. If the U.S. has succeeded in doing anything, it is just simply to remind us about how fragile our unity is and what it takes to just simply throw us into panic mode and to open up arguments about who we are and who is oppressing who and who is killing who and how many Muslims are dying, how many Christians are dying. The bottom line is all of us are dying, and it doesn't matter who is killing us. What is important is that we want these killings to stop. We need to create some national consensus around this. Blame those who need to be blamed. Blame the killers, whatever they are, whoever they are. And then blame a leadership that has been unable to fix these killings. It is enough. We're tired of fighting. We're tired of running away. And we're tired of quarreling over who's killing who. Every single life is important, and we need to stop it. It is appropriate that Nigerians should show concern over the trend of our political process. We now have one political party that has virtual monopoly over the National Assembly, a huge influence over the electoral process, a huge process over the judicial process, and an opposition that is increasingly weakening itself and is being weakened by the ruling party. This is not good for our democratic process. Granted, there is no law that says governors and other people should not defect unless somebody goes to court and trusts and asks that the judicial process interrogates what gives politicians the confidence to just simply wake up in the morning as PDP or whatever, and then the next, in the evening of the same day, they are now APC. We need to look at that very carefully.
Right. That was Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed with this week's State of the Nation. We're going to double down on that and the fallout of the developments around the categorization of Nigeria as a country of particular concern, and how domestically as well as internationally Nigeria remains on the radar with regards to the growing insecurity across parts of the country, but more importantly, how that is going to translate into the implications on national cohesion and unity. So let's bring in our guest. Once again, we'll be speaking with Reverend Joseph John Hayab, the Chairman, Christian Association of Nigeria, 19 Northern States and the FCT. Alongside him in the panel is Dr. Imam Nuru Khalid, popularly known as Digital Imam. Gentlemen, good evening to both of you, and thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for stopping
and
by.
Thank you for meeting.
Right.
We spoke just recently.
Yeah,
I don't know we are meeting here
I didn't
again.
realize this was a convenient...
And on the same subject, actually.
Right.
Of course,
Trying to just find way out, and then we engage ourselves, only to come to the studio and then realize
What better way
that
to amplify it than to be on TV? But let's start it this way. A lot of people have different perspective about what we're about to discuss tonight. A lot of people see it differently. A lot of people interpret what is happening domestically and internationally differently. Some see it as a wake-up call. Some see it as a justification for a narrative that has been around for quite some time. Some see this as an attack on one group against the other. Some see this as, you know, the international community again exploiting a domestic issue in Africa that Africans are incapable of solving. Starting with you, Reverend, how do you see what is happening? How do you describe it?
When I look at what is going on from the perspective of being a development practitioner, I see it as an opportunity for us to correct something that has been going on that we have not probably taken good attention, or we have, for deliberate reason, did not pay good attention. So let's look at it. Let's see whether it is there. And for every development practitioner, in every conflict and in every conversation like this, he sees opportunities. Opportunity to correct a wrong, opportunity to address something that he feels needs to be addressed, opportunity to engage deeper in the kind of conversation we've been having with people around issue of peace building, social cohesion, an opportunity for us to engage our government, most especially, to see certain things that probably they have not taken it the way it is. But when I also look at it from the point of being a religious leader and a pastor and a Christian, as I would say, who has actually been around, I always tell people who care to listen that I will be lying to anybody if I tell him that killings have not been going on. Because I'm not here to discuss that, but I can give down incidences of this kind of killings, and to me as a Christian, I see it as those killings were done targeting at Christians. I can ignore other ones, but if you look at the Miss World Beauty pageant killings, I remember, as I said in some quarters, that I was the one who did the mass burial. So that's why this memory is deeply in me. What happened? A lady whom all the Christians in northern Nigeria, or let me say 98% of Christians in northern Nigeria don't even know her, even not 99.9. Up to today, I don't even know her. She just wrote an article, whether it was good or bad, but the reaction was not in these days, this paper in Abuja or wherever she resides. The reaction was against churches, because it was not like Christians were fighting. No, let's be clear with this. The reaction was against churches, against pastors, against believers in Kaduna and other places, as if we sat in a meeting and asked her, is it Ifeoma they call her, or who, go and write an article? We don't even know her. So when things like this keep happening, and I remember the Danish cartoon incident, I don't even know what he designed. And I know many Christians don't even know what he did. But the moment the Danish cartoon came out, as if some people were looking for opportunity, I remember all effort, then New Nigeria was actually alive. I was the first pastor who came out and publicly condemned that cartoon to save situation. The ulamas in Borno, then Mudi Sharif was governor, went to the governor and said, no, we are not going to protest. We just want to go to the stadium and express our dislike about the cartoon. But everybody knows how it ended in Bauchi. So when you have those patterns, then Boko Haram came up in 2019, and started. The first casualty, strong casualty of Boko Haram were Christians and were pastors. I have them by name. One was Reverend Bitrus Yakubu. Bitrus Yakubu is actually a Borno man. His brother, at the time he was killed, was the medical director of Maiduguri General Hospital. Then there was one Reverend Oji. Oji is from Bedwe. What we used to remember him for is because when he saw he was not going to come back, he just told those who were escaping that go and tell my brothers I die well. I remember working with one Reverend Ladi Thompson and Pastor Ayoris Jafo, took care of his wife, because the wife was expecting when he died, she had to give birth to a baby not matured. We took care of her and eventually moved her away from Maiduguri to Lagos. She has been in Lagos since 2010 February until this year that she told me that she has moved back to Abuja. Then there was one Reverend Sylvester Osonebong. Sylvester Osonebong hails from Ekotipene. I went for his burial. The fact that I've never been to Calabar, I flew to Calabar, picked a cab. Then there was no airport in, what do you call the name of this? Uyo. And went to Ekotipene, buried Osonebong, then drove through that area to Port Harcourt and picked a flight and come back. So I also went to Dogonawa, so we can go on and tell stories. So when someone looked at me and said, no, there has never been killings of Christians, I'll say, wait a minute. It all depends on the angle you're looking at it. As we've said, there are many versions to it. The angle I see is that Christians have been targeted, and they were not targeted by anybody. They were targeted by extremists who came in the name of Islam. They didn't come as just ordinary people. They came because when Boko Haram kills you, you know their ideology. When ISWAP kills you, when Lakarawa kills, I'm just using names that are familiar now, Ansaro, you know who they come for. They did not come for anything. They only later start going after Muslims, from our knowledge, who felt, wait a minute, what you're doing is wrong, and start resisting them. And I know very well that one of the reasons why a large number of Islamic clerics and leaders have really not been hitting at them and saying stop was because they started hitting anybody who speaks against them. But to tell me that it's not been clean about Christians, right. Then I asked myself, hey, wait, I'm a victim. My church was burned. The pastor who preached in my church that night went home and was burnt in his house. Look, we couldn't carry his corpse. We carried it in a mat like a small baby. The man was a retired soldier. It's the story we don't want to tell about. So if that understanding happened, but nobody in Christianity will say that Muslims held a meeting and say, go and kill them. But people came and killed us in the name of religion.
Right. And Dr. Nuruddin, bringing you into the conversation, because it is important to also situate what we're hearing, right? How do you respond to a passionate disposition from someone like Reverend Hayab, whom you've known for quite some time, I imagine, when he makes the argument from his perspective? Because there seems to be this discounting or equalization of the argument where you hear mostly from the Muslim side, they say, listen, but we're also losing people in numbers. So I guess that makes it not so religious, attack. How do you respond when facts like this are mentioned in the argument that, listen, this is the reality, and there's no two ways about it?
Well, I think, first of all, I have to sympathize with all the Christians from what he said. And I want them to believe that, and he has said it, Muslims have not come together to organize this. And many Muslims fall victims because they stand against it. So now this brings another step forward. That is to say, whoever you heard him saying that more Muslims have been killed, he is saying a fact. Yes, if you count the number of the victims, and if you look at some people moving from one angle of the nation to another, being attacked because they are Muslims and killed, you will now think of, what is happening to us? Are we not all also a victim? But we are not competing in counting numbers of how many Muslims died and how many Christians died. We are at a point where we need unity the most. That's right. We need to, first of all, forgive one another. As Muslims, at a point in time, we made some mistake against the Christians. Or someone did it in our name without our conscience, like the Boko Haram did. As Christians, they have made some things wrong to us, unconsciously, unknowingly, unintentionally, because there was no meeting of the Christians asking the Christians to attack the people coming from Bauchi, from Tahiru Bauchi on Maulud. There was no meeting by the Christians to attack to use the resources of the government to attack Maulud people in Tungang, biri or something of that nature. Now, what I am saying is that we need to forget, we need to forgive one another. It is very difficult to forget, but it is important to forgive. As people of God, as children of God, you need to forgive. As a Muslim, you need to forgive. I want to say that it is time when we come to a round table and sit down and discuss the issue of Nigeria seriously. Are we ready to tackle our socio-economic, security and political issues together, or we want to depart? I don't want to say that majority of Nigerians want to depart, but I know that majority of Nigerians believe in Nigeria despite the failure of, the continuous failure of governance in Nigeria. But we need to correct it. And if we don't deal with the fragment between us, we cannot deal with it.
Right. And let's talk about this split, which has become obvious now. I mean, different press conferences, the Sharia Council spoke, several other groups have been speaking about, the fallout of this. Some amplifying it, some denouncing it. Does that add fuel to the fire, Reverend? That, you have religious leaders, people in position, who, unlike you and Dr. Nuru, don't see eye to eye on the issues, right? One is either supporting what the narrative of the United States, and the other one is denying the narrative, right? How does that help the situation? How does that either make it better or make it worse, in your view?
Most of our religious organizations are made up of people who are answerable to some other people, who yield into pressure of those people. Okay, we just sat here now, and I expressed why we think that way. And he explained to me in a very simple language, yes, it is true you think that way because it happens that way, but there's another side of it. And he explained, this is what some of our religious organizations and leaders have not tried to do. What they do is to please those pressures by going, and I will tell you, when this whole conversation started, I keep repeating this. I will not deny the killing, but I don't want Nigerians to be put on country of particular concern. Oh, those who have been looking for excuse to nail me got me. And I have been consistently remained that. I don't want Nigerians to be put in country of particular concern, because in what country of particular concern means, they will deny our government or security men access to weapons, and they will put economic sanctions, which at the end is the local people they think they want to protect that will suffer. So I was looking at that. I think another person who amplified this voice more is Bishop Kuka. Was it not the same person who said it this time? Why is it changing? No. You see, there are two things happening here. I have been hurt, and sincerely, I feel bad. But I have also an obligation to ensure that Nigeria is protected and is safe. Now, I may have met a Muslim who prefer argument and debate. But I'm also meeting Muslims who say, no, we don't need to argue about this. The truth is that it is true. Some of the things you say did happen. But because probably you are in that pain, you didn't know it also happened to us. But I'll tell you one of the reasons why some Christians find it a little bit disturbing to understand the conversation. I'd come to you and tell you, sir, I was sleeping in my house and your son came and burnt my house or set my house ablaze. I think what we expect is that he did that. Why did he? And just sympathize as he started. But what we've been finding from other religious leaders is that, why are you going to say he burnt your house? He has also burnt my house. Are we competing who burned whose house? Those are the approaches that have led to where we are today. But we're having a conversation. There are many voices, I can tell you, many Muslim voices who are speaking to us, and there are many Christian voices, just as we spoke today, who are also speaking to people who understand and saying, look, this is our country, we must come together to fight and protect this country. But let's acknowledge where things are wrong, so that when we come to what we call the round table you are talking about, we're not coming to argue again. We are coming to acknowledge what went wrong. We are coming to admit where we went wrong. We are coming to admit where our children, our followers, our supporters didn't do what is expected, and commit ourselves to correcting it, either rebuking them, taking measure, and then when we collectively come out with one unison voice and tell government, whoever again persecute another person in this country in the name of religion, deal with him. We Muslim leaders are with you. We Christian leaders are with you. That will be the change. But the one we are doing press conferences, abusing each other and saying things and denouncing things, I don't want to say things that will sound negative here. When I look at those who make the press conferences and others, I will say, I wish they are victims. They will know the difference. They will understand the fire. But okay, it's okay. Right. Debate it, but we have talked enough. We have talked about figures enough. You have your figure, I have my figure. You have incidences that happen to you. Like I said in one media, sir, that one of the pains of this killing is not killing. You know, the killings we are facing in these stories we are saying, it's not the killing that they come and shoot you with gun. It's the killing that people caught you with knife. You know, it's so horrible. Right. But now, since we know this, what do we do to make our government sit up? What do we do to salvage this situation in Nigeria? I'm so happy with the introductory remark that you brought in Hakim Baba Ahmed to say. All those blame games, all those stories, we've had them. What next? And what next is we talk honestly to one another, admit where things are wrong, challenge our government to sit up. I can say this for those who care to listen, that this whole thing didn't happen in 2023 to today. Let's be honest ourselves. We've had these killings long before. In 2023 to today, to a large extent, like me coming from Kaduna, I can say with confidence that it has changed. What
for
we
the
were
better,
doing,
for the worse or for the better?
No, for the better.
Right.
What we're doing, what we're finding around 2016, 18, 19 to 2022 in Kaduna, I know how many times my job was like every week I go for burial. You're not burying one person, you're burying 10, you're burying 20, you're burying 30. But at least in about 24 months now, I'm not sure I've been anywhere to bury 10 or 20. Yes, I bury people who die, but not that kind of number. And I did a deliberate research the other day, and I asked different states in northern Nigeria what has happened in the last 12 months. And there are many of the states who can say, the last 12 months, the story is not what we used to know. But killings have not stopped. Right. It's just that the magnitude of it is not as before. So that means there's a shift. So how do we build on this, sustain it, and ensure that we will come to a time that no one person again will die?
Right, especially on the grounds of his religious belief. Yeah. Right. Doctor, bring you back into the conversation. What do you make of the politicization of the arguments for and against the intervention of the United States and other interested parties in the international community? What do you think is playing out here?
What is playing out is a deviation. We have deviated from the main track, the mainstream. If I, as a Muslim, forgetting that in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala categorically stated that destroying one's soul is equal to destroying the whole humanity. If he, as a Christian, forgetting the piece which says, thou shall not kill, then we are deviating. There is no qualification whatsoever in the Bible when the Lord says, thou shall not kill. He did not say, thou shall not kill a Christian. Thou shall not kill a believer. The meaning of this is that thou shall not kill or allow killing of any person, any human being. And the meaning of the Quran is also clear. Therefore, as Muslims, if we are to talk, we are not going to celebrate somebody killing a Christian. We are not supposed to support any person killing a Christian or an unbeliever. And as such, we're supposed to come together, talk to the government as people. Yes, there was threat from Donald Trump, and Nigeria was placed as a country of particular concern. We are not happy with that, but you, the politicians, are the cause of this, because it is your primary objective as politicians, as leaders, as government, to stop it. And you have failed over time to stop it. Instead of us blaming those who are commercializing our blood, our blood, the Christian blood, the Muslims' blood, they are commercializing and politicalizing it. We failed to blame them. They succeeded in targeting me to be a blamer of my friend who is my neighbor, who is also a victim, inspiring me to deny that he was a victim. And they are now inspiring him to believe that I am not a victim. And we now come to blame the international communities for coming for their interest in our country. But we invited them, our failure invited them. If there wasn't killing in Nigeria, Trump will not dare say that he will place Nigeria as a country of particular concern.
So you don't have any issues when maybe the numbers are not what many experts say is a true reflection of what's happening on the ground. You think that is a secondary issue, whether the numbers tally or not? You think that's not the point?
Secondary issue. The main issue is constitutional duty of the government is no more there. They have failed. I'm glad he said it that in 2023 there is a shift, and we must maintain that shift to continuity to the last. But how can we, if the government is not ready to invite us to help in curtailing the problems?
And Reverend, let's talk about the government for a moment, because a lot of the onus is on the current administration to do the needful, whether as a reaction or as a counter to the narrative, because there's a lot of the conversation we're having today is about the narrative war, online and offline. But what do you make of the government's response since this issue became an international, gain international
I think
interest?
those who went out to defend government and to counter whatever narrative that was coming from either Senator Ted Cruz or from Trump led us to where we are today. See, it's a very simple thing. If Ted Cruz is sponsoring a bill to ask us to account for killings of either Christians or whoever, period, we've heard you. We also set up our own agency to, we can say we have a presidential task force on religious freedom, who will investigate, advocate for religious freedom, investigate those who are committing religious freedom's crime, and prosecute them. Let's know this clearly. I think it's important I use this opportunity to say, when we speak about religious freedom, we are not speaking about interfaith. And many people don't understand
they are different.
Religious freedom is not about interfaith. Religious freedom is the freedom everybody have to practice the religion of his choice. But they went into it as if it was a debate, and that's why today different groups are debating among themselves. They're forgetting that in this same country, we have traditional worshippers whom we despise many times. Christians and Muslims, we despise them.
Of course.
Forgetting that they are citizens of this country. We have Shango worshippers. We have even Hindus in this country. I have met them. I have had contraction with them. So sometimes we used to say, we Muslims and Christians. And they say, no, we people of faith, because they belong. So all of us are people of religion, but we are one family. So when we start this conversation as if it were, because it is the approach that makes it look like Christian versus Muslim. But if government have said, okay, we've heard you, we will investigate this, we'll set up our agency to investigate this, and before you know, we'll find solution to this matter. I know how these things work everywhere. The international community themselves will say, okay, we'll help you put up the structure that will work for you. If America have a commission of religious freedom, what stops us from having one that deals with our issues, our unique situation? But I think we prefer to go into the politics of, hey, they are trying to spoil our name. And that's why even what Trump says is not what we're discussing. I listened to Trump. I read what Trump says. Trump never said he was coming to kill Nigerians. Trump simply said, terrorists are killing Christians in Nigeria. Get rid of them, or I will send my name to come and get my men to come and get rid of them for you. Today in Nigeria, we are saying, no, Trump is coming to destroy Nigeria. Before you know, so your colleagues in the media industry have changed the story and counting the number of states that Trump is coming to deal with their governors just to further create tension. And we keep reading this and responding, attacking each other for something that Trump didn't say and for something that will not work just by mere saying. But if we had come together to address it as, okay, are there citizens who feel they are being killed? Okay, we'll do something to make sure you're no longer killed. Right. Then another citizen will say, sorry, don't say they are the only ones being killed. We too are being killed. Oh, we will do something so that nobody, I can tell Nigerians who care to listen, that the night that there was a problem in Zaria between the Shia and the military, I'm a pastor. I'm among the first people the Shia group called. I was in Lagos. I remember calling General Sheka, who was then the spokesman of Burutai. If he watches this, he will confirm to you. I even called the then almighty Rufai, who was the governor of Kaduna State. And when he didn't pick, I sent him a text. I said, let's stop this. Look, I can add to you to tell you that there was even a day, the security agencies in Kaduna State felt that the Shia group were going to some churches and they wanted to arrest pastors for even allowing them to enter church. And someone advised them that don't try that. Can you reach out to Reverend Hayab before it becomes a problem? And they called me, I came, we sat with all the officers and they presented that story that they want to arrest them and know what did the Shia people came and do. And I quickly told them, sorry sir, if you're going to arrest those people, I'll be the first you will arrest. Because every Easter, every Christmas, and even Salah, and even Mauludi, I used to host here. What? And I told them, sir, I'm hosting them because one, they're human. I'm hosting them too because they are Muslims. I want to relate with them in such a way that together we will give Kaduna peace. Right. So there are things people do sometimes that they don't understand. That was what stops the arrest that time. If government have actually seek for counsel, honestly, the first response, they're trying to bring up narratives that they brought, further flame what we are seeing today. Right. But I think the hope is not lost. We can still correct it now because someone have knocked at our door to remind us that there's fire on our roof. Right. So how do we put off the fire? We don't begin to talk, are you the one who's seeing our fire? There's fire in our roof. Let's find a way to put it off so that Nigeria will be better for us, for our children, and for our grandchildren. And
let's talk about the American interest. Some say, listen, this is subterfuge. It's a whole small screen. You did talk about commercializing Christian and Muslim blood for whatever ulterior motive that is at play here. How do we factor in the American interest into this conversation? Well, domestically, religious leaders, political leaders are trying to de-escalate and lower the temperature. What is your view about the international interest, especially the American interest? How does it factor into the conversation that we're having?
I don't think it is right to blame any country for having interest in another country. We as a people, as Nigerians, we have interest in Niger. We have interest in Chad. We have it in Liberia. We send our military personnel to for more than 53 times Nigeria engaged its military in another country in Africa or an international basis. So the bottom line is that let them pursue their interests, but we as people know what to do to prevent them from taking selfish interest or an interest that will not pay us back. Now, coming to freedom of religion, which is the main issue, if we understand the statement of Trump, how many Nigerians know about Section 38 of the Constitution of Nigeria, which enshrined freedom of religion? How many Nigerians know about Article 18 of the United States Convention that enshrined almost the same with Section 38 of the Constitution of Nigeria? Whose duty is to send the message of the constitutions to the minds of Nigeria? We have Ministry of Information. We have under it now National Orientation Agency, and they know the implication of religion, the power of religion in Nigeria, and they fail to educate Nigerians. I'm not saying that they are doing nothing, but I said in terms of educating Nigeria to know what is freedom of religion, They have failed. That is why we are here. That is why Trump is threatening Nigeria. Let's start from there. Especially the clerics, let them understand what is the meaning of freedom of religion as enshrined in the Constitution of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. So they call it. I am not a lawyer.
Right. But in talking about the conversation, it seems like there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of perspective, but you don't get the sense that people are listening. And the temperature is, well, let's just say it's at an all-time high. And when you talk about religion in Nigeria, things are rather personal. Nigerians get very emotional about it, so much so that you get the sense that we are talking at each other and not to each other. How do we de-escalate this? Which I think is the end game here. Yeah. How do we de-escalate this and use this as a turning point for better engagement and to add value to the idea about national cohesion and unity? Because obviously that's where we're supposed to head to.
Let's commend our citizens. Yeah. Our people are listening. Our people are listening. The fact is that if they are not listening, the situation would have been worse than what you have it now. I remember last Thursday I attended a function somewhere, and when I arrived, I saw someone that I know very well, an Islamic cleric that I have high respect for, and after the event he just walked to me and said, "Reverend, thank you very much. Initially I didn't understand this conversation until when I listened to you. That gave me hope. That gave me hope. I didn't know." I've had pastors who call me from many places and say, "Initially we didn't know what this is all about, but having listened to you, we have understanding." So what is happening is that there are voices out there who understand and have shifted from where they were yesterday to something else now. The problem is that your medium is not amplifying them. Your medium prefer to amplify those who are splitting fire, those who want to debate about figure, those who want to be angry with everybody who say there's
I take it you're talking about the media generally.
Yes, of course. I'm not saying trust.
Not trust.
I'm saying media.
Right. Trust is trusted.
I give you an example that when this whole thing starts, there was no comment anywhere by Trump and specifying a number of states and particular governors. But the media in Nigeria have headlines and even mention it. I saw they've changed from 12 yesterday to 8. Thank you. So you're following. So you can see the kind of incitement. My organization arranged a program. It was also a coincidence. Also last week, Wednesday in Kaduna, where we discussed peace reportage with journalists. And we looked at some of this conversation. What do they report? All of them report their sentiment. All of them report what they feel will sell, or they want to make headline in the front page, even when headline would throw Nigeria. And we're having a conversation with someone, and he said something to me that really hits me. He said, there was a time I was working with INEC, and I was among those delegated by INEC to go to South Africa to observe their elections and see how they... Sincerely, we do elections here. They don't even do elections there. But what happened? Then they asked them, "We've never had this story on the news that your election is like this." Then they say, "No. We can have every fight we want to have in Nigeria, but there are certain in South Africa, but there's a certain story for our national pride, for our national unity. We will not make it a public thing. We can fight it inside the house." Right. I think that's one of the ethics of your work that some of your colleagues don't understand it. So they want to magnify everything. If I'm a Muslim journalist, oh, Christians are lying. If I'm a Christian journalist, oh, Muslims are wicked. So by the time such kind of stories is coming out, and this is what we feed every day, people would not understand. And don't forget, for us as clerics, we meet our people voluntarily every day and every Sunday and every Friday. So if we go there also to tell them that, these Christians are accusing us, these Muslims are doing this, that is the same way they will go. But I can say to you, from my own experience and findings, honestly speaking, why the debate is more of an intellectual debate is because the general masses are beginning to understand, see, this is not about us. This is about them. They are not talking about us. What is us? Secure us, stop the killing. No killing of Christian, no killing of Muslim, no killing of everybody. Let's do our job. Our boys can afford to feed themselves and live alone. We are deliberately dividing people, hiding under these things. And that's why government do not go after people who cause this mayhem. Because if they go, they will have helped Nigeria, but they won't get people that they will manipulate anymore.
Right. And just before we wrap things up, Dr. Nuru, talk to me about the level of disinformation and misinformation that we always have to deal with online. Because like I did say, the digital community is one that continues to grow. You see some of these messages on WhatsApp groups, on social media, most of them distorted facts on all sides, trying to convince or push a particular narrative. If you have to factor in the scale of the problem that we're dealing with here and how much of a task it is for not just the government, but for people like you who are dealing with believers on a regular basis who are probably sharing that same message with you, saying, oh, this is what the other side is doing, it's us versus them, is this Muslim versus Christian narrative. How do we walk back from this particular trajectory, which continues to send the wrong message to the rest of the country?
Well, I think we have to acknowledge the fact that social media and the internet is now overtaking the mainstream media. And as such, no sensible government will underrate the influence of social media. Therefore, there must be regulation. Not direct regulation, but indirect regulation. By knowing how it works, I know we have the Ministry of Communication. They know what to do to make sure that everybody knows what to post. And if you don't know, you will not understand why your posting is not going. They know what to do, but they left it like that. And there must be sensitization for those who are called influencers of the social media. We have them a lot, but you will be surprised if you look at somebody with 3 million followers on social media talking nonsense to Nigerians. And no one cares. Giving misinformation, false information, and no one will play with information. Information is power. Information is dangerous. Information is wealth. Therefore, we have to know how to regulate it.
Yeah, and we've seen over the last couple of weeks debates about that. I think at a recent gathering, the Sultanate called for some sort of regulation when it comes to social media, even clerics, for instance, and their usage of social media. But in the final analysis, so I can just get your final thoughts on this one, how do you see this episode ending? Because we've been here before, in all honesty. It is over the last 2 decades, right? We've been at this critical juncture before, where things were coming to a head. It looked like we were on the edge of a cliff, and the worst didn't happen. But how do you see this episode ending? Do you think this is the turning point that could redefine our relationship as countrymen and the Nigerian government's effort towards insecurity? How do you see this ending?
Well, it is imperative to use it as a turning point. It is must. We must do it. How to do it is to bring ourselves together, right. Talk to ourselves the truth. Let me look at the face of my friend and tell him, this is your problem. And let him look at me and tell me, oh, in other words, let's tell our leaders the truth so that we amend, so that we shift, right. So that we change from the situation. Yeah. But Nigeria can never continue like this.
Okay. And finally, Reverend, just quickly, we've completely run out of time. How do you turn the people on the other side into allies instead of adversary, especially in the conversation that we're having?
You see, the miracle of Nigeria is actually something very unique. This is not the first time we have been placed in country of particular concern. But I think this time around, the conversation became a little bit heated and hot. Having said this, I think we have to begin to deliberately amplify the good voices, the positive voices of Nigeria. You see, these young men who go to the internet, as you rightly said, there are people they look up to. Amplify those positive voices, amplify those positive intervention, amplify those positive things that unite. And then lastly, Government just need to act and act responsibly. And what do I mean by acting responsibly? You see, we've talked about it several times on this platform, that the constitutional right of government is to protect lives and properties of our citizens. No Nigerian citizens must be hurt. No Nigerian citizen must be denied his right. No Nigerian citizen must be treated with disrespect. Right. Like sometimes we feel there are certain places you go and someone will tell you there's no John here, or someone will tell you there's no Abdullah here. I ask some question in Nigeria. And when people do that, no Nigerian come out to say, hey, stop that. I should go to Kano and be accepted as a Nigerian. I should go to Sokoto and be accepted as a Nigerian. I should go to Katsina and be accepted as a Nigerian. I should go to Kogi, Kwara, and Maiduguri, Taraba to accept as a Nigerian. And even if I go to Enugu, I should be accepted as a Nigerian. So vice versa, not irrespective of religion. Nigeria is Nigeria. And you know, the foolish aspect of all we do, once we go to soccer, sport, in the next 3 days, we are going to be playing a football match. Right. You know, sometimes when they come together, you don't know which religion they pray. They just need victory for Nigeria. Right. Can we for once begin to come together? We are not thinking about which religions pray, which religions do not pray, victory for Nigeria. Right. But we start by telling each other the truth and respecting one another. Okay. I may not agree with everything he said. He may not agree with everything I said, but he respects me, I respect him. And government shouldn't come in between and creating unnecessary tension just because they want to be in power. Right. Nigerians must know this, that every power you see today is transient. It is here today, tomorrow is not there.
All right. As is the case with this program. 1 minute we're on air, the next minute time is up. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I appreciate the analysis, Dr. Khalid and Reverend Hayab. I appreciate you very much for the analysis.
Let me correct a notion. Right. I'm not a doctor.
Right.
I'm a sheikh.
Right. Sheikh Imam Khalid.
Thank you
so much for I guess the producer wants you to be the doctor so badly that he decided to add doctor to the name. But thank you so much for joining the conversation this evening.
Yeah.
That's a wrap on tonight's edition of Daily Politics. Thank you most kindly for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow live at 8 p.m. exclusive as always on Trust TV. Until next time, I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon.